Hello. Yeah, sorry, I had a call. All right. So insert simple CSV to Salesforce. Export Salesforce to CSV. Update. Sorry, not update. Delete. Delete is what? Delete from Salesforce. Now, one of you please help me understand. When I delete something from Salesforce, does it get permanently deleted or not? Anyone? When you do a delete operation, does it get permanently deleted? Is there a way of getting
No,
that
that won't
back?
get permanently deleted. That will be yeah, of course. That is a recycle bin, or you can take your data from there in within 15 days. Else it will go.
Right. So it goes into the recycle bin. All right. From recycle bin, if I go to recycle bin and then delete it from there, then what happens? I say empty the recycle bin.
Permanently deleted.
Then it gets permanently deleted. So what was
Then yeah, towards that.
yes, exactly. Correct. So what was the small advice that I gave you yesterday related to delete? Before you delete anything, either temporarily or permanently, what is the small thing that we have to do before delete? Take a backup. Archive the data. Fine. No matter how sure you are about deleting the data, whenever you are doing a delete operation, it's always advisable to do a backup or take an archive of it. Right. So these three things we have done: insert.
I have Jit, I have one other question, if you don't mind. Yeah, I have I was just revising yesterday's topic, and then I find that there is another options in data management, like import contacts and accounts and all that. So why we need to use data loader? Why we cannot use that? That is the inbuilt functionality of Salesforce. Yeah. So why we need to install another software and use the data loader to load all the things? And did you get my point?
I'll come to that part. I'll talk about that. Fine. That is something which we are going to talk towards the end of today's session. Right. Once we understand data loader, then we will talk about that. Okay. So I'll come to that.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Then the update operation. So these three things we have done already: insert, export, delete. Now the other option that we're going to talk about is the update operation. All right. So what is this update operation? Update is some data is already there in Salesforce and you want to make some changes on that data, right? So for example, let me just go with the file that we used yesterday. This was the file. These are the records that we entered, right? Let's say I want to update the fax number of all these. Okay. So what I can do is, let's say the fax number I want to put is I want the fax number to be updated to this. So multiple records, I want to update the fax numbers. All right. So for an update operation, you always need to have the ID column, because till the time you do not supply ID, Salesforce cannot understand which record are you talking about, right? And then you should have the field, you should have the ID and you should have the field which needs to be updated. Rest other things, even if they are not there, doesn't matter. So it just needs to identify the record. For that it needs the ID field, it needs to update the data, for that it needs the field which needs to be updated. So that's it. So the two required things. So let it be this. I am not changing anything here. This is March 16, 15. Okay. So that's my file. All right. Now I can use the data loader and do the update operation here. So just give me a minute. How am I going to do that? First of all, let's do this. Open the data loader. Anju, you there? Would you do you mind sharing the login ID, password, and the same security token that you gave me yesterday? You can give me the same security token that you gave me yesterday, login ID, password, and the security token. So you can fetch it from the email and give it to me. Give me 1 minute. Let me just log in. Let me just fetch the login ID and password and login into it. Okay, so for performing an update operation, you should select the update operation and then put the login ID password the way it was done. Click on next. What do I want to update? Accounts. Select account. Browse the file. Where is my file stored? Just wherever you have saved the update file. I have saved it here. This is the file. Browse the file, go to next. Same way, map the fields, nothing else needs to be done. I think I am getting the wrong, I've taken the wrong file, I guess. Browse, go to success. This is the one. Okay, yeah, this is the file. Map the fields the way we do. So you actually don't need to map all the fields in this case, right? Why? As I told you, we're just bothered about the record ID so that the record can be identified and the value which needs to be updated. So ID and fax number, because fax, I know that fax number is a field which needs to be updated. Alright, so in case of an insert operation or import operation, you need to map all the fields because you are entering all the data. Here all other data is already there. So it doesn't matter if you map it or not. Not required actually to map this. Yeah, ID you have to map and the fax numbers you have to map. Fax is where? There it is. So the ID mapped, fax number mapped. Click on OK. Then go to next and say finish. There were 4 successful updates. So your records have been successfully updated. The fax numbers have changed. Got it? So if there is an update in the data that you want to do and you want to do the update for multiple records at one go, then it should be update operation or using the data loader. Alright. Okay. So that's about update operation. So insert, export, or insert or import, export, delete, update. There's one more thing that we talked about, which is transfer. So what is that transfer? Transfer is changing the owner, from one owner, transferring the data from one owner to the other owner. So this is something which can be easily done using the update operation, because you can just update the record owner field. Okay, so that can be done. Apart from this, there is another way of doing it. We have an easier option of doing transferring data from one person to the other person, which is within salesforce.com. Just give me a minute. Let me log in into this first. One moment. Okay, so for transferring the data, there is an easier option. Usually transfer happens when someone is having some data, and that person maybe is leaving, or he wants some of the data to be transferred to someone else. Let's say we have Sridhar, okay, and Sridhar is actually getting into some other role, and Chandra will take care of his accounts. So these kind of transfer can be easily done from here. So we have an option here, which is called which is under setup data management. It's called mass transfer of records. So under setup data management, there is mass transfer of records. Okay, you can select what exactly you want to transfer. You can just transfer accounts. Click on this. Okay, then select transfer from which person to which person, transfer from, transfer to. So if you have multiple users, you can transfer it from one user to the other user, and then you can put some filter on which all data you need to transfer. So if there is a filter that okay, only the data which meets a certain criteria needs to be transferred from this person to the other person, that filter you can put. If you don't want to put filter, it's absolutely okay. Just click on find. It will show you all the records. You can select the ones which actually need to be transferred, and then click on transfer. So this is a lot easier way of transferring data from one user to the other user. Okay. Clear? So we have now understood all the options, import, export, delete, update, transfer. So we understand all these options within the data management. All right. Now whatever we have done using data loader, almost everything can be done from the setup menu also, right? So there is a way of doing these things from the setup menu. But when you do it from the setup menu, it's not an efficient, if for example, if you're talking about setup data management, here you have an option of importing the data. You can do an import, you can do a data export, okay, you can do a mass delete, you can do a mass transfer. So these things can be done from here. Okay. However, however, this is the data management menu options are not an efficient way of doing the data management operations. Okay, data loader is a lot more efficient tool because it's a different application which is specialized in the data management thing. All right. So data loader does things faster, accurately. It can support huge volumes of data. Okay, it can support up to 5 million records. Okay, whereas your import wizard, which you see here, this can support only 50,000 records, right? So the import options that, or import export options that you see here are not very efficient ways of doing it. When I do an export from the data loader, what happens? I instantly get a download file, right? But if you do a data export from here, the export will be queued and you will have to wait to receive the download URL on your email. So usually that takes a bit of time, right? So data loader is a lot more faster way of doing this. Okay, now the question which I think so, Shweta Swati, you were asking that question, right? Or Sonu, I do not remember. Someone was asking this question, right? Why not use this and why use data loader, or why we have this option? See, these options are available for people who are not, that good with handling data loader. For example, if I'm talking about a salesperson who has entered 50 or 100 contacts in an Excel spreadsheet, he wants to use data import wizard, it's absolutely fine, he can do that. The process is same, if you just come and click on import accounts and contacts, it's the same process. See, if you read this process, it's going to be the same process. A CSV file, you just have to do the CSV file, you have to map the fields, and then so the interface wise it's different. But it's not something which will support huge volumes of data. It's not something which will be done as fast as a data loader. It's not something which will have option of importing and exporting everything. It is not something which will have the option of putting filters on the export. Like here, if you do a data export, you have an option of doing an export now, and you do not have any option of choosing what fields you want to export. You can just select which table you want to export. Let's say lead. In the lead, it does not give you an option of selecting which all fields in the lead, which all filters that you want to put in your export. So those options are not there, and it will not even give you an instant download, right? So for that reason, this data management option is not efficient way of doing it. So you always, as developers, you always prefer the data loader option, and you always work with data loader. Mass transfer of record is one good option, because you do not have to get the IDs of the owners and all that stuff. But otherwise, I think data loader is something which you will use maybe 10 out of 10 cases, right? Okay, so that's about the data loader and the data management stuff. So now we know how to enter the data in bulk into the Salesforce. Now we are going to talk about a few other things. Okay, now we are going to talk and understand about the application that we see. We are going to talk about how that how these applications are formed, what are the different components of these applications. Okay, so basically now we will understand the architecture of the Salesforce application that we see. All right. So, and this is very important, whether you want plan to become a consultant or an administrator or a developer, you need to understand this architecture really well. Okay, so it's pretty simple also. So the Salesforce is built on an MVC framework. Okay, anyone who knows what's an MVC framework? Anyone who has heard of MVC framework?
Yes, I do know. I was a .NET developer, so we worked for 2 years.
What does MVC stand for? Okay. So MVC is a framework which has 3 layers. Model, view, controller, Shalini says. Yes, exactly. So it has 3 layers. It's a framework which has 3 layers. One is the model, one is the view, one is the controller. Okay. So this MVC framework has a layer which is called model. This is basically the data model. This is the backend database. View is the interface, and the one that we see, user interface. Okay, this is the front end. Controller is set of logics, or the programs, collection of programs or the logics which control everything. The binding story. Got it? So that is how it is. So Salesforce also works on this. Salesforce is also designed on this MVC framework, which has 3 layers. One is the model, one is the view, one is the controller. So far, whatever you have understood Salesforce, you must have seen that there is the database in the backend. There is a data model in the backend. There is an interface which we deal with, which we look into. For example, here is the interface that I see. Okay, here is the interface that I see. I click on accounts. This accounts tab is what? It's a part of the interface. But when I click on new, I get to see another interface which is meant for entering the data. When I enter the data, where does that data get stored? That gets stored in the backend data model or the database, right? So when I click on the save button, what action will happen? That has been defined by a logic or set of program. There is a program which controls what happens when I click on save, what happens when I click on save and new. These are all controllers. So it has 3 layers. One is in the backend, which is the database, which you don't see. One is in the front end, which is the interface, which you see. And then the controlling logics, set of logics or programs, right? So that is what we have in Salesforce. Right? So let's start with model. In the model, the backend layer has the database or the data model. This data model comprises of objects. Objects are nothing but tables. Object in Salesforce is a database table. Fields. What is a field? Columns. Fields are columns in the tables. And records. Records are the row entries. Okay. So like for example, if I have a table in the backend, account, so table name is account, right? This is the table or the object. So please get used to this terminology. I will use these terminologies, objects, fields and records very frequently. So I can have name as a field, industry as a field, type as a field. So these can be the fields. So name is a field, industry is a field, type is a field, phone number is a field. So these are all fields. If I have a record, that's an entry into this. IBM, technology industry. Okay. Type can be customer. Phone number can be something. So this is a record. One row of data is called a record. Got it? So in the database or in the backend model layer, we have these things. We have objects, fields and records. Clear? Okay, you cannot have anything apart from this. In the backend database data model, what will you have? You'll have a few tables. Each table will have a few fields, and it will have a few records or rows of data. Now come to the view part. View has pages, as we can see. It has tabs, as you can see. So you have these pages, you have the tabs. Tab is a component of the view. What is a tab? Tab is a button which connects you to an object or a web page. Tabs, if I have to talk in a simple language, it's a button that connects you to a web page or a database object. So this tab can also connect you to the database object in the backend. Like if you want to enter some data into campaign, what do? You go to campaigns tab. So this tab is connecting me to the backend database object. Alright. And there's one more component at the front end which is called app. App is nothing but collection of tabs. So primarily these are the three components at the front end. So the model layer has three things: objects, fields, records. View layer has three things, primarily pages, tabs and apps. Page, we know what a page is. Tabs we know. Apps are these apps. Okay, these are also interfaces. This is also a component of interface. And what did I tell? App is nothing but collection of tabs. So if you click, if you select a sales app, you will see the tabs get changed. The collection of tabs get changed. If I select some other app, the collection of tab gets changed. So it does not have a count. Okay, so an app is just a collection of tabs, nothing else. Okay, so when I say that create an app in Salesforce, I am just asking you to create an interface and put certain tabs in that. Now, that tab is connecting you to an object or that connects you to a web page. That depends on you, how you want. Right? Clear on this? So let's take a small example and understand how an application should be designed and all that stuff. So let's take an example of a project management app. Okay, my company wants to design a project management app. Sales and marketing CRM app is there already, but let's say my company wants to design a project management app. Now for a project management app, what all things do I need? First is some tables in the backend where I can store the data related to projects, right? So in the model layer, I will need the objects and fields, right? Let's say one table for storing projects, one table for storing the assignments, something like that. So those tables or objects will be required in the backend. Each object will have certain fields and you will enter some data into every object. So that's fine. Okay, in the front end, what will we need? We'll need the pages. We will need tabs to connect to those objects. And we will need an app which holds all the tabs related to that application. It's a project, assignment, things like this. Right? So that's it. You'll have to create the objects in the back end. You'll have to create the components in the front end so that the end user can access that. That is how simple it is. Alright? So let's do a small example for this app and see things on our own. So I will start it the other way around. Though we decided what to create from the model, but I will go the other way around. I will start with an app, then create an object, then create a tab and put that tab inside the app. Okay. So please follow the steps. It's very simple. You just need to go to setup. In setup, you have an option called create. Under create, go and click on app. I want to create an app, right? Just go and click on apps. And then click on new. You want to create a new app. What is the name of the app? Project management. That's it. So app is what actually? It's just a collection of tabs. It's just an interface which holds a few tabs, right? So I'm just creating that interface. I'm just creating an envelope, a blank envelope, and then I'm going to do the stuffing inside it. I'll create the objects, I'll create the tabs for them and put them into this app. Okay, so done. Just click on next. All right, the moment you come to step 3, it asks you what all tabs do you want to put inside your app. An app is what? Collection of tabs. So there are all these existing tabs available. You are required to define which all tabs you want inside this app. So I say that I don't want any tab. I just want home is by default there, so you cannot do anything about the home tab. It will be there by default. Let's go to next. Here we are. On the step 4, just click on visible here. Select visible. Don't do anything. We'll talk about this a little later after a few sessions. Just go and click on save. Your app is ready. So we have designed an app, but an app is just a collection of tabs. And at this point of time, my app project management, the moment you create an app, that gets listed here. I told you this is the apps menu, right? So it gets listed here. You can see this app, but this is a blank app. It does not have any tabs as of now. Why it does not have any tabs? Because I have not added any of the tabs here. All right. So what I need to do is I would just need to create a few objects and create tabs for those objects and add those tabs here. So first of all, I need to create an object. Let's go to setup. Then create objects. Okay, this time I want to create an object. So I should go to setup, create and say object. Object is a database table, right? So just click on new custom object. Okay, why is it called a custom object? Because this is something that you are creating. All right. So Salesforce by default has certain objects. You must have seen one. By default Salesforce has certain objects. So the objects which are already existing, those are called standard objects, the ones which have been provided by salesforce.com. The ones that you are creating are called custom objects. Okay, so just give a name to the object, project. Don't do anything, click on save. Just give the name, label, save. That's it. Okay, object is a table. Table will have fields. Okay, so once you see your object is created, you will also see that there are 4 standard fields. So what is a standard field? I just told you. Standard object is something which has been provided by Salesforce. So a standard field is something which is by default created. So there is a field called created by, last modified by, owner and project name. So 4 fields are created by default. If you want, you can create additional fields. Okay, let's say I want to create a field called project start date. So just go ahead and create a new custom field. Okay, so any object that you create will have 4 fields by default. Additional fields that you need, you will have to create. So I'll just go ahead and click on new custom field. What is the field that I want to create? Project start date, right? So for project start date, what should be the data type? Anyone who can tell me what should be the data type for the project start date field? Sorry, what was that? Date. Right. So depending on what kind of data you're going to save in that field, you will select the data type. So this is pretty simple, right? If it is a phone number, then what should be the data type? Phone. If it's a project manager comments, if I want to have a field for the comments from the project manager, then it should be a text or text area kind of thing, right? So the field that I want to create is a project start date. So just select the date field, click on next. Okay, so once we are done with the session, once you start doing it, I would want you guys to have a quick read of what all data types are available and stuff like that. All right, let's go to next. Give the field name, project
in this
start
in
date.
this custom field, Cloud?
Custom field, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, in this custom field, can we not select multiple things like date, phone number?
No, so
Is
every
there an
time you need,
option?
for every field you will have to go to custom field new and create it. Like project start date, you need one more field, you'll select as project end date. You need one more field,
Okay.
you'll have to create. So every time you'll have to create. Once at one go we cannot
Okay.
create multiple.
Okay.
So then just go to next. Make it visible, the screen, okay. Go to next, save. Just go to next, save it. So one custom field is created, which is project start date. Data type is date. You want one more. Expected end date. That should also be date. Go to next. Expected end date. Go to next. Select it. Go to next. Save. Right, so this way you keep on creating the fields, and next it's done. So whatever fields you need to create, that you should know, your business should know what all fields you want to track, what information you want to track for a particular project. You should create fields for all those things, and your object is ready, right? So I'll just keep it here. While you're practicing, I would definitely want you to create a few more fields in the objects and create a few more objects. Okay. So my object and field is ready. So the backend data model part is ready, right? Now what do I need? I need to create a tab for this project object, and I need to bring that tab here. All right. So just go to setup. Now I want to create a tab. My backend data model is done. What is the next thing that I have to create? A tab. Just go to setup, create tab. Create a new tab. Select, you are creating the tab for which object. There are so many objects here. I want to create it for which object? For the project object. Okay. You have to select a tab style, which is an icon for a tab. You can select anything, and then just go ahead and click on next. Step 2, whatever it is, leave it like that. Don't do anything. Go to next. Step 3 is important. See, here you have all the apps listed. All our apps are listed here, and you have to select under which all apps you want to see this tab. I want to see project tab only under project management tab. If you select sales, then this tab will appear under sales app also, but I don't want to do that. I want project tab to be visible under project management app only. That's it. Click on save. So project management app, here is the projects tab. Got it? So this ways you can have more objects like consultants, assignments, clients, objects for them. You can create tabs and bring those tabs here. So then it gradually will become a complete app for you, which is related to project management. So it's not just the project data that you will have to store. You will have to store clients data, consultant data, assignments or activities, or project demonstrations or whatever, depends, what exactly your business requires. So this is how simple it is to create an app in Salesforce. Fine. So we just need to create the backend data model objects, fields, create tabs for those, create an app in the front end, put all those tabs in that app. That's it. All right. Simple thing. Okay. So I just want you people to do a small thing. I think I'll not talk about any more concept today. We'll talk on this application design concept furthermore in tomorrow's session. But today I think I'll just keep it here. I want you to go back and try to create a project management app. We have just started with a concept. I just want to see who comes up with the best project management app. Think about it, what all objects, think about what all fields, and then create those. Okay. Good, bad, pathetic project management app, create something. Okay. So I would, tomorrow once we start the session, I would make everyone presenter one by one, and I will look into your project management app, and we will decide on one person who has designed the best project management app. All right. So whatever concept comes into mind, please create that. Yeah. Anyone has a question? Anju, I think I answered your thing. Huh? Okay. So yeah. Anything else? Anyone has a question on this? So please go back and work on this. I think we'll just keep it till here for today. There are a few more concepts on the application design which I will talk, but I don't want you to have too many things for today. Just go back and get started on this, and then we will talk about the other concepts which I included.
Hello.
Yeah.
Today's session is create an application in Salesforce, isn't it?
Creating an application. Yeah. Starting creating an application in Salesforce.
Okay. That is the subject of this today's lecture.
Yeah. It's a merge kind of thing. Some part of data management we did, and now we are into this. We have just started creating applications. All right. Okay then. So I see you all tomorrow, same time, same link. Thank you all.